Hey everybody,
Hello and welcome.
to the next episode of Worlds Collide, a production by NRD Forge, episode 2 of Spider-Man. I'm your host Mitch with our other host Kenny and
Hi, I'm Justin. I was absent last week, had to attend a buddy's wedding, but we're back. These guys held up the show without any delay, giving you part 1 of the Spider-Man Chronicles. We want to do a quick, maybe 2 or 3 minute recap on what we've talked about so far?
We can.
Cool.
So last week we talked about what makes Spider-Man a hero in our eyes. Talked about his resilience and his commitment to do good no matter what, no matter how much it hurts himself or his own personal gains, how much it hurts his own personal life. We talked about some events in the 90s that happened to Spider-Man, talked about Maximum Carnage and the Clone Saga, talked about what got us into Spider-Man. Kenny was the 1960s animated series.
Watching those reruns at night when I should have been in bed.
Yeah, myself was the Maximum Carnage series. What was it for you?
That's tough. So I know he originally tried teaming up with the Fantastic Four, did he not?
He's very tied to the Fantastic
So I'm
Four.
trying to think that was the first time I saw him watching the old Fantastic Four cartoons. I'm thinking it probably was the 90s reboot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like the 90s and the Spider-Man the animated series?
Yes, I believe that was it. With like they had the Rhino, they had Venom was a big one.
Yeah.
Green Goblin.
They had Madam Web.
Madam Web, Shocker, Mysterio. They were all in there. Yeah. That was what it was. Because the '60s cartoon I didn't really watch until years later when it reappeared on Teletoon. That was the one that I was kind of like, oh wow, this is old. I'm like, I watched a couple episodes of it, but I'm like,
no, yeah.
If you
didn't watch it when you were a kid, you kind of missed the boat.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's the way things are. It's hard to go back.
Yeah.
Some I missed, some I did not.
Yeah.
Like I said, like X-Men. Watched that first time through growing up and loved it. Like I can always go rewatch that. But trying to rewatch those old Spider-Mans, you're like,
yeah. Well, funny enough, so I ended up rewatching the 90s X-Men animated series, and that still holds up. It's still a fantastic cartoon. Tried rewatching the old 90s Spider-Man cartoon, and it doesn't hold up as much as the X-Men one.
No, it just doesn't. It doesn't pull through.
No.
But that's okay.
We also spoke about our opinions about the. We somewhat talked about our opinions about the movies and some of the animated shows as well. But yeah, we did not talk about his spider powers, and didn't talk about his his events in the 2000s.
Okay.
So there's quite a bit we haven't talked about.
Perfect. Why don't you lead the way then?
Yeah. So where we left off, we were talking about the Clone Wars. And the Clone Wars got a bad rap because it just started off good, started off strong, but it kind of got convoluted. They started losing focus in the creative aspect, and it just became a hot mess at the end, just way too complicated. They didn't know how to finish it.
Give me a quick recap. What is the Clone War focus on again?
Okay, so Clone Saga started off technically back in the 70s.
Right.
So back in the 70s when Gwen Stacy got killed, Miles Warren, Professor Miles Warren, who becomes a Jackal, creates a clone of Peter Parker to take over Peter Parker's life.
Oh God!
Ensuing battle, building collapses, and Peter assumes that the clone is dead. Turns out the clone didn't die, went off on his own, creating his own identity called dyeing his hair blonde and renaming himself Ben Riley. Ben being after Uncle Ben, and Riley being Aunt May's maiden name. So he went off to...
There's a spider clone in there somewhere.
Exactly. So in the 90s, he came back into Spider-Man's life, and Spider-Man thought that he was trying to take over his life because this clone is a perfect clone. Looks exactly like Peter Parker, has all of his memories up to the point where they got cloned.
And then everything since, obviously, is his own new identity.
Exactly. So he came back because of events, And then you find out there was more clones. Another clone showed up, Kane. Kane was a major villain of Ben Reilly, who created his own persona. He was the Scarlet Spider.
Okay.
And Kane was his major enemy, but Kane was also a clone of Spider-Man, but more disfigured. And he had a mark of Kane. The mark of Kane is he uses his ability to adhere to walls.
Right.
But he would use it to leave a mark on people's skin.
Ah, so you're trying to spray them?
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Spider prick?
Yeah. Kane was responsible for the death of...
Evil.
No. He was actually responsible for the one I was just talking about to you before we started airing.
With the Enforcers?
Not the Enforcers, the Grim Hunter.
His son.
Yeah. So Kraven the Hunter's son, the Grim Hunter, came about in the late 90s. And then, this was the issue where he was introduced. And not too long after this issue, he ends up meeting up with Kane, and Kane kills him, breaks his neck quite easily, actually, treats him like a bitch. He does the same thing to Dr. Octopus. He ends up snapping Dr. Octopus's neck.
Damn.
And he was like nothing, too. Like, he just went through his arm, just went right for the neck, and dead.
That's
like a
two
bitch.
off the list.
Yeah.
Like a bitch.
Yeah. And then there was another clone that showed up, and there was some kind of court procedures because evidence made it look like Peter Parker was responsible for the death of somebody because it was Kane and they all have the same DNA.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. I think there was another clone revealed.
So it's just clone after clone after clone, and this is all spider clones, and it's all just an ongoing fuckery saga.
Exactly. So it started off strong.
So
Ben is a great character. I don't know. That was because, like I said, it just became a white hot mess. It became so hard to follow.
Kind of gave up.
Yeah.
I've had TV shows like that where it's like, I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah.
You get so far down the wormhole, you're like, is it worth going on further?
Yeah. That's why a lot of people, when you mention the Clone Saga to Spider-Man fans, it usually gets responded by a groan. Exactly.
Let's not talk about that.
Exactly. Yeah. Even or mention the 90s era of Marvel Comics, the one thing that people bring up is the Clone Saga.
No, like that was shit.
Yeah. But it started off great. Ben Reilly is a great character. Scarlet Spider has a huge following. Kane is a great character. The whole entire concept, like I was telling the audience and Kenny last week, this issue here is the issue that the first comic that ever made me cry.
Really?
Yeah, because in here it's a death of Aunt May.
A death in the family.
Yeah, it's a death of Aunt May.
And right here's the tombstone on the front cover.
Yeah.
All etched in. Wow, that's pretty cool artwork.
Yeah.
It's all like graphic texture.
Yeah, and if you open that up, it's the actual issue. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, fancy.
That is the front cover.
Yeah.
That's neat.
So, anyways, as Aunt May is dying, Peter is consoling her, telling her seconds started straight until morning, and then she dies. But then you have Ben Reilly outside
crying
because
he has every memory.
That's his aunt.
It's his Aunt May too.
But he can't go to her, but she can't know that he's there. She can't know he's a thing, right? So there was good things that happened in the Clone Saga. It just they couldn't stick the landing. Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
But anyways, so after that happened, there was, and before Civil War happened, there was the other that happened.
The other.
Yeah.
A creature or an event?
It's an event.
Okay.
Also a creature. So the other was a series that I ended up picking up. I didn't bring those issues with me. Where there's another villain that got introduced. His name is Morlun. You don't know much about Morlun when he first gets introduced. He got introduced before the other. I didn't actually read the comic where he was first introduced. Okay. But when he was first introduced, he faced off against Spider-Man, and when he hit Spider-Man for the first time, Spider-Man said that was the hardest punch he's ever taken. And he's taken punches from Thor, from Hulk, from Iron Man, and the punch from Morlun, he hit harder than all of them.
I've never heard of Morlun.
Yeah, not a lot of people have, until more recently, actually.
Oh, he resurfaced.
Yeah.
All right. I like it when they bring him back.
Yeah. So Morlun, he's a being who feeds off of life energy, and he specifically targets spider totem bears.
Spider totem bears.
Yeah. So like Spider-Man, he's a spider totem. He's a man who has spider powers.
And there's a lot of these
throughout the multiverse.
Through the multiverse. So he's a traveler.
He is a traveler. Yeah. So he's kind of like the one. Jet Li's the one who goes through from universe to universe, killing off all these versions of himself. While Morlun goes from universe to universe, killing off versions of Spider and other totem bears. And every time he does that, he becomes more and more powerful.
Oh God. Okay.
And
so have you heard of Morlun? Never heard of Morlun? No.
So Morlun has the ability that once he has skin contact with somebody, he could forever track them down no matter where they are. So that first punch he gives Spider-Man, forever marked, he tracks Spider-Man
forever.
Yeah. So he tracked down Spider-Man, and Spider-Man somehow got a hold of his blood. Found out that Morlun has like the DNA of the entire animal kingdom inside of him.
What?
Yeah, but he's pure. His blood is pure, no radiation to him whatsoever.
Okay.
So what Spider-Man did to defeat him is that he went to some radiation site and irradiated himself, just enough to make himself poisonous to Morlun. Even though, so Spider-Man is already irradiated, his blood is already irradiated.
So when Morlun touches you, though, he absorbs
your powers.
Your powers and DNA?
Yeah. So when Morlun tries to absorb Spider-Man's power, he was so irradiated that he didn't get Spider-Man's power, he just absorbed the radiation, which made him sick and then died.
Excellent.
And then the other happens and Morlun shows up again.
Back.
Yeah, so Morlun shows up again, beats the snot out of. Well, before we get to Morlun, in the other, Peter Parker gets shot, and he ends up going to see his doctor. The doctor takes a bullet out and tests his blood, tells him that he is dying. Something about radiation or his powers is causing him to die. So he goes off to see the smartest people in Marvel. He goes to see Reed Richards. Reed Richards can't figure out how to cure him. Well, his blood is radiation, so who's the best person to go talk about radiation? Bruce Banner. So, but Bruce is Hulk right now. So Spider-Man went after the Hulk and ended up coaxing the Hulk to turn back into Bruce Banner. Spider-Man's one of the few people in Marvel who have that capability to do that, because he's just funny. He makes the Hulk laugh and becomes Bruce Banner. So he becomes Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner can't do anything about it. He goes to see Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange can't do anything about it. Bruce Banner told Spider-Man that Black Panther had mapped the human genome way before anybody even found out what Wakanda was. So he wanted to go see Black Panther. Black Panther couldn't help him out. Nobody was able to save him. Spider-Man is going to die. So when Morlun shows up again, he senses that Spider-Man is dying and tells Spider-Man that he doesn't want to kill him physically. He wants to watch him die from his disease to see what happens. He's curious. But a fight ensued anyways. They end up fighting. Morlun ends up plucking Spider-Man's eye right out of its socket. Beats him to an inch of his life. But doesn't kill him right there. His cop showed up and decided he's going to kill him later. Spider-Man gets brought to the emerge because he was beaten near death. Like he was almost dead.
And everyone knows he's Peter Parker?
No, nobody knows he's Peter Parker. This is before Civil War. This is before he revealed himself.
Oh God.
So he's in pretty much in critical care in the hospital. And Morlun shows up at the hospital room. And just before he's about to kill Spider-Man, Mary Jane shows up, tries to stop Morlun. Morlun breaks her arm and then chucks her across the room. And then Spider-Man wakes up and it's no longer Peter Parker. It's now the Spider. It's now the other. He's become completely animalistic. His teeth got sharp. these big stingers came out of his wrists. He jumped Moreland, jabbed both stingers into Moreland's arms into the ground, hitting him to the ground, and then just tore his face off. Just ate him. And then killing Moreland yet again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's...
Spider-Man doesn't usually kill.
No.
But this guy he made an exception for twice.
Yeah. So then ensues, and then Spider-Man dies.
Like, eats his face and then collapses on top.
Yeah, then dead. Tony Stark picks up Spider-Man because he knows who he is, but the general public doesn't. So
Right.
Tony Stark grabs Peter, Spider-Man flies him out of the hospital, so nobody finds out who he really is. And then Mary Jane and Aunt May goes and meets him at Avengers Mansion to mourn the loss of Mary Jane's husband and Aunt May's nephew and all of their best friend and hero. But then when they go see him, they find out that his body is gone. And then they don't know what happened to him.
Tony, what do you do?
And you find out that I think it was Tony who mentions that there is some rare breeds of spiders who actually have the ability to shed their own skin. And then it goes to another panel where you see this cocoon that's underneath Manhattan Bridge. And then in that cocoon is Peter Parker, and Peter Parker goes into his dream state, where in his dream state he meets the Other. So the Other is like the spider spirit, the spider god, and pretty much reveals to Spider-Man that even though he got his powers from the bite of a radioactive spider, his powers is more destiny more than anything else, and they're also very mystic bound. He's part of the web of life.
Yeah, I saw him in Lion King.
But yeah, so and Spider-Man ends up finding out about this, and then he gets told by the spirit that the reason why he was dying is because he never accepted who he really was. He was always a man with the powers of spider, but he never accepted that he was part spider. So now he has to choose: are you going to be the man who accepts the spider, or are you going to be the spider who accepts the man? You're going to be one or the other. And then when he breaks out of the cocoon, he's naked, but he's alive.
So he's the man.
Yeah, yeah,
Accepted the spider.
yeah. So when he breaks out of the cocoon, he discovers that he has newfound powers. Yeah. So in the story, you find out that Spider-Man now has dark vision. He now has those stingers. Those stingers come out of his forearms.
Have we ever seen that?
Very rarely. Very rarely. And you won't anymore.
Oh.
Because of One More Day.
Yeah, I fucking retconned all that.
Exactly. So...
I'm in movie, though. Movie
No.
universe,
Never
cartoon
seen-
universe. Have
never
you ever
seen
seen
that.
Stingers?
No.
Just comic book.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah. You might have seen it in like an Elseworld alternate universe
Maybe
episode
Ultimate
of like
Spider-Man.
Ultimate Spider-Man or something like that.
Because in Ultimate Spider-Man, they kind of show everything.
Yeah. So dark vision, he has his stingers. He also has the ability to feel vibration through his webbing like a spider can.
Sweet.
His strength has been enhanced, so he's even stronger than he was before, faster than he was before. So, I guess this is a good segue to Spider-Man's powers. Because like I said, last episode we even talked about his powers. So what are his powers?
What can you do?
Well, superhuman strength is
On what level?
high.
If we're going from Tony Stark out of Iron Man's suit all the way to Hulk, like World Ender, where does he fall?
He's not as strong as Hulk. He's not as strong as Thor. He's not as strong as Captain Marvel. He is stronger than Captain America. He is stronger than... I think he's stronger than Luke Cage.
Oh, okay.
Stronger than Jessica Jones.
Okay. I didn't think those two... I knew they were strong. I didn't think they were that strong. Are they
Yeah.
supposed to be that strong?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're heavy hitters, but Spider-Man's a heavier hitter.
Okay.
He has superhuman speed.
Not Flash, not Superman.
No, but he can move faster than a car.
Aquaman?
Aquaman's water.
Yeah, but he's fast. Right?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Right.
He's as fast as water can be, and water can be pretty fast.
Okay.
But no, yeah, Spider-Man could outrun vehicles. Like, he could... apparently, he's been clocked to go like 600 kilometers an hour.
Holy shit, why is he swinging from webs?
Well, I think that clocked at 600 kilometers an hour is including...
dash.
Well, is including his wedding. Like, he could travel through New York at like 600 kilometers an hour. That's how fast he could travel through through New York.
Okay. That's pretty fucking fast.
It is pretty fucking fast.
That's pretty fucking fast.
He's not Flash fast. He's not Quicksilver fast. He's not a speedster, but he's very fast. He's got near perfect agility. Back when I used to collect Marvel cards that would show stats, Spider-Man had a 6 out of 7 for his agility. The only one I ever found that had a higher agility stat than Spider-Man was Longshot.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. He has the ability to stick to walls. Oh, that's another power he got from the other. Is not only does he stick to walls with his fingers and his toes, but any part of his body now. So there's one part where he's actually sticking to the wall with his bare back attached to it, so he can carry kids out of this fire.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
little shimmy.
yeah. So wall crawling, sticking to walls, which, as I've mentioned with Kane, can be used to lethal effect, because if he can strong enough to run across buildings and stick to walls and other surfaces, imagine what that could do to human skin.
Oh, dude, that's going to palm anyone.
Yeah. And just rip their face right off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
No.
Spider rug burn.
No. He's got an increased endurance. He could take punches better than a normal human being can. Like, he could take a punch from Thor and keep going. Not for very long, but he can take a punch from Thor. He also has limited regeneration as well. He's no Wolverine or Deadpool, but he can heal a broken rib within a day or two.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's like weeks, months of bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah, during Maximum Carnage series, Venom ends up in one shot breaks his ribs just by opening up Spider-Man's arm and just giving one big backhand to the ribs.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Drop your guard and slap his rib.
Yeah. Yeah. So throughout the Maximum Carnage series, he was nursing these broken ribs, and he couldn't take time off to rest those ribs because he could heal within 24 hours, but he couldn't take that time off because Carnage was out killing hundreds of innocent people throughout New York.
It's like, I take one day off to heal, there goes another couple hundred people dead.
Exactly.
It's like, fuck healing.
Exactly. Even though Captain America was on the case, Black Cat was on the case, Iron Fist was on the case.
They were all at it.
Morbius, the Living Vampire, Firestorm was there. Yeah, there's big. Deathlock was there to help out.
For my first introduction to Deathlock, funny you mentioned was I just finished watching the first season of Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I was like, who the fuck is this guy? The whole time they're making him, putting his armor on, and then finally you see the name Deathlock, and I'm like, alright, who's Deathlock? Who the fuck's Deathlock?
Yeah.
So he became a part of Avengers, etc.
Yeah, became a member of the X-Men too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, never heard of him, never knew who he was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and he's a lesser known character, but I've always liked Deathlock. He's a good, interesting character.
Yeah, he was solid for first season, for sure. The way they play him back and forth, because they got his son.
Yeah.
It's good.
So to show how powerful Spider-Man is, I watched this video going over some of his OP moments, and I want to go over that with you guys. So one of those OP moments, this one technically doesn't count. It was when he punched the Hulk into outer space.
What?
I will give you context.
How do you do this?
So, in the 90s and throughout the 2000s as well, this being has made his appearance throughout Marvel Comics. His name is Captain Universe. This being gives his power to random people that needs to have that power to accomplish a particular mission at that time. And the Captain Universe powers are unlimited. So much so they gave Spider-Man the strength to punch the Hulk right into orbit, and then fly up into orbit to catch him and bring him back down. Yeah, so Captain Universe has the ability to fly into space, energy projection, invulnerability, super strength, speed, energy manipulation, matter manipulation. Yeah, Captain Universe is OP. So that's why I said doesn't really count. But here's some other feats. There was an event in Civil War where Peter Parker, Spider-Man, was trying to take out Mr. Fantastic, and and to get to Mr. Fantastic, he had to go through, I think it was Thor, Luke Cage, there was, the fuck's his name? Nuclear Man. He's one of Iron Man's villains. I forgot his name.
Oh,
the guy.
Yeah, the radioactive dude.
Yeah, yes, he had to go through him to get to Reed Richards. And it's funny because the panel to panel, you see Reed Richards say, amazing. And then Spider-Man, just before he hits Reed Richards, spectacular. And kicks him right in the jaw. But yeah, goes through like a couple of really powerful guys to get to Reed Richards.
And Reed's standing there the whole time just amazed.
Yeah, it's how easily he could get past all of them.
That's hilarious. Why was he trying to get Reed, do you remember?
Just because Reed was on Tony Stark's side, and the Spider-Man had jumped sides. He started off on the Iron Man side, but he ended up joining Captain America's side. So he was not part of Captain America's side. Reed Richards was on Tony Stark's side. So yeah,
Trying to get him.
yeah. So
That's hilarious.
another feat was when he defeated Fire-Lord.
Who's Fire-Lord?
Fire-Lord is one of the Heralds of Galactus. So that should say what that means right off the hop. But Fire-Lord has given the Avengers a run for their money. Like he's given Captain America and Thor and Hulk a run for their money.
Spider-Man shot him down.
Yeah, well, because Fire-Lord was trying to defeat Spider-Man, and Spider-Man just kept on dodging all his attacks and kind of refusing to fight him. But then when Edison started getting in the way and started getting in danger, he had no choice but to fight back Fire-Lord. So when he started to fight back, you see him like hitting him, jumping out of the way, hitting him. Like you see him like being all over Fire-Lord, like just hitting him from all sides. Fire-Lord can't keep up with him. And all what Spider-Man was trying, he didn't think he could beat Fire-Lord. So he's just trying to keep him busy until the Avengers showed up and take him out. But by the time Captain America stops Spider-Man from beating up Fire-Lord, you see Fire-Lord is out. He's on the ground. He's done. And Spider-Man, he's kind of going on autopilot. He didn't realize he took out...
Oh, fight's over? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm still swinging here.
Yeah. So, yeah. One-on-one, Spider-Man defeated the Fire-Lord.
That's hilarious. What are some of Fire-Lord's abilities?
Well, he can fly through space. He can fly at warp speed in space, super strength, fire manipulation. He can create fire out of nothing. He has the power of cosmic, just like Silver Surfer does. Yeah, he's not a slouch.
Yeah, alright.
Spider-Man has gone toe to toe with Silver Surfer. They didn't fight for very long, and Spider-Man didn't beat the Silver Surfer, but he did manage to go toe to toe with Silver Surfer coming out of the conflict without scratch.
That's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer will whoop you.
Oh yeah.
He's mean.
Spider-Man's first issue, Amazing Spider-Man #1, he was trying to join the Fantastic Four. So when he breaks into their building, they don't know who he is yet, and they face off against Spider-Man, and Spider-Man quite easily dances through all of them, beats them all pretty much. But then when he finds out that they're a non-profit organization, he was looking for a job, he said, see you, and he left. So he broke into their mansion, treating them like they were bitches, and then left.
Oh, you guys aren't even going to pay me?
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. And then, so One feat that they didn't talk in this video, I think, is a pretty good example of how OP Spider-Man could be. When Norman Osborn came back from the dead and ends up killing Ben Reilly, he ended up planting these bombs on the Daily Bugle and told Spider-Man. So Ben Reilly stayed to fight Green Goblin while Spider-Man had to run off to save the Bugle, but he didn't get there in time. The explosions went off and the Bugle started collapsing. Spider-Man gets there and lifts the Bugle. Like, he keeps the Bugle up by himself. Like, he's trying to keep it up with both arms, and eventually, through adrenaline, pushes the building up, lifts it up with one arm, it starts webbing the supports to keep it up. One arm! He's holding up the entire Daily Bugle. So if you want to talk about how strong he is, he's pretty damn strong.
Okay. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
On top of that, one power that people that I forgot to mention, and I'm ashamed of myself for mentioning, is his intelligence.
He's a smart dude.
He's smart. He underestimates his own intelligence. He thinks he's not as smart as Tony Stark or Reed Richards or Bruce Banner or T'Challa. But really, he is on par with them.
And he's 15 when he started. I think he was
He's 16 when he started.
Yeah.
But the majority of his time spent has been in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He started as a nerd.
Yeah.
Science geek. Like,
he invented web shooters at 16 years old.
Yeah.
He invented spider tracers, a mechanical device that he could plant on somebody that triggers his spider sense so that he could follow it and track people down.
That's so high tech.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was one issue where there was some kind of bomb that was about to go off, and Tony and Reed Richards are there, and they couldn't figure out how to stop it. And Peter Parker is the one who figured out, wait a second, move out of the way, I know what to do. And they're like, Peter, what are you doing? And like, shut up, let me do my thing. Goes there, and then changes the daylight savings times. Gives them 1 more hour to figure out what to do with the bomb.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I didn't defuse it, but I bought his time.
Yeah.
Well done, Peter.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Because then they're like, all right, well, fuck. Let's just grab this and fly this away.
Yeah.
Like, I got an hour now.
Yeah. So that was the other. Just wanted to showcase what happened to him and some new powers that came to be. And things that could happen in the movies. Could potentially happen in the movies. They might show Moreland. Doubtful. But maybe they'll show Moreland.
They'll have to kill Spider-Man to show Moreland. That's the problem with showing Moreland.
Possibly. But Moreland comes back for the Spider-Verse.
Like for a third fucking time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Does he kill him again?
Yeah, Moreland dies again.
Holy fuck, just give up on that guy, right?
But you find out why. He keeps coming back. So in the Spider-Verse, you find out that Moreland is actually part of a family that are from Earth 001. So Spider-Man...
Earth.
Yeah, so like the main continuity Marvel is Earth 616. Ultimate Spider-Man is from Earth like 611 or 811 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, Moreland is from Earth 001. And they're from this family who found out about these masters of the web of life or whatever.
Okay.
And they end up killing them and take the web of life for themselves and finding out about the multiverse and found out to attain massive power, they had to go and start killing the spider totems from alternate universes.
Okay.
So that started the multiverse event that happened in Marvel, the comic books. Not the multiverse animated series, animated movie, but the actual multiverse, Spider-Verse comics.
All from Moreland.
Yeah, and there was this other Earth where they found a cloning factory. And that's why Moreland keeps coming back. Every time Moreland dies, they just spawn a new clone of him.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Yeah. And the scary thing is how powerful Moreland is. Well, he's got a family. So he's not the only one that's as powerful as that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And do you run into the other guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and their father, who's even more powerful than them.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Daddy's always stronger.
Yeah.
If you know one thing from comics, Daddy's always stronger.
Yeah. Plus you're King Cole.
Yep.
Although we never got to see King Cole, so you don't know if he was more powerful than Frieza. I feel like Frieza was more powerful.
Probably.
Yeah.
You get to see King Cool in other movies, not in the show.
No. Well, sort of. You don't really see him fight.
No.
The only time you see him fight was when Trunks just walks right through him. But yeah. So after the other Civil War happens, because shortly after Spider-Man comes back to life, that's when you see Tony start working on the Iron Spider.
Ooh, Iron Spider. And that's who we saw him suit up with in Avengers.
Yes.
When he's out in space in the first half.
Yeah, it's the Iron Spider suit.
Nice.
With the even with
Spider legs.
the spider legs and everything, the HUD and everything. Yeah,
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good costume.
yeah. So after all that, one more day happened. We've talked about one more day.
Timeline get your set.
Yes, where he makes a deal with Mephisto to save Aunt May's life. To save Aunt May's life, Mephisto has one request. He wants their marriage. He wants Peter Parker and Mary Jane's marriage because Mephisto feeds off of misery. And Peter Parker and Mary Jane's love is so pure, their marriage is so pure, it's so unbreakable. So that was his price. He wants their marriage. So they agree to it. Both of them agree to it. Aunt May gets to live. Mephisto rewrites history so that they never got married.
Mary Jane, I do agree also.
Yeah. And what happened was, so when he rewrote history, so that was one more day. Brand New Day was the next series, and Brand New Day was to show you everything that changed. So you find out the reason why they never got married is because Peter Parker was Spider-Man duties was, as always, takes precedence over his own personal life, and because of that, he was late for his own wedding. So they never got married. They broke up. Yeah. So they broke up. Harry Osborn is alive again. Harry Osborn died in the 90s. I used to have that comic as well. It's really good. Harry Osborn is back. Norman Osborn is alive. The events of the other never happened, so he doesn't have the stingers anymore. He doesn't have the night vision anymore.
No way. Okay.
But yeah.
Did anyone other than everyone in the Spider-Man direct universe get changed? Like, did Thor, Tony, did any of them?
Not really, except for the fact that this also made it so that everybody forgot that Peter Parker was Spider-Man.
Okay.
So
It
Spider-Man
re-hid his identity.
That's right. Spider-Man revealed who he was during Civil War, and then after one more day, everybody forgot who he was. That never happened. That got reckoned.
Okay.
So then after Brand New Day, Big Time happened. And so in Big Time, you find out that Peter Parker has a new girlfriend. Her name is Carly Cooper. He's got this new roommate. Her name is Michelle. And the reason why he's roommate with a girl and not his girlfriend is because Michelle is the sister of Peter Parker's old roommate who ended up getting incarcerated. So Michelle was staying there, and then when her brother got let go, got released, she ended up leaving Peter without a roommate. So now he's trying to find a roommate, and because he can't afford to play by himself, he was going and he asked everybody. He asked Harry. He asked Flash Thompson. He asked his new girlfriend Carly Cooper, and they all said no because they really can't. Flash just really didn't want to. And then so finally he's like, oh, fuck, all right, looks like I have to go see Aunt May. I'm gonna have to go. And this is a sentiment I can relate to. Once again, it's just so relatable a character, Spider-Man.
Gotta move back home.
Yeah, pretty much. He's got to go back to Aunt May to ask for help. He's a grown man. He's in his 30s now. He has to go back to his aunt for help, for money, even though she probably can't afford it.
At least she's alive.
Yeah. Yeah. So he goes to her place, and then who answers is, and during this time, Aunt May is dating J. Jonah Jameson Sr. So J. Jonah Jameson's dad.
Oh God.
Yeah, they end up getting married too. Yeah.
I bet Jonah loves that.
Yeah. Well, he ends up getting a lot of respect for Peter, but then Peter does something that kind of loses that respect too.
Well, it always happens.
Yeah. Well, what happened was J. Jonah Jameson was getting attacked by somebody, and a security guard ended up saving JJ's life at the expense of his own life. And Spider-Man showed up and ended up saving both their lives. Well, saving J. Jonah Jameson's life, but the security guard died. And then Peter had his camera set up. He had taken pictures of all the events, and he wanted to help JJ for some reason because JJ had lost the Daily Bugle, so he was hoping to do something for JJ. So he ended up doctoring the photos, making it look like it was JJ who stopped the criminal. It wasn't the security guard, but J. Jonah Jameson won't have anything to do with that. He is lawful to the nth degree. He is neutral lawful. He is lawful neutral.
Yeah.
He believes in the truth no matter what. He will not print a doctored photo, especially one that dilutes the sacrifice of the security guard who gave his life to save him. So
yeah, I can see that pissing him off.
Yeah, so he fired Peter Parker and kind of lost all respect for him.
Damn.
Yeah, so he was trying to help him and ended up backfiring. Kind of what happened to Eddie Brock.
Yep.
Because Eddie Brock ended up doctoring photos and he got caught for it. He got fired for it.
Yeah, because he tried blaming Spider-Man for shit, didn't he?
Yeah. No. He had depicted somebody as a serial killer. And
as Venom.
No, it was the Sin Eater. So he had pegged somebody as a Sin Eater, and then when Spider-Man captured the real Sin Eater, it revealed that Eddie Brock's photos were doctored. But yeah, so when Spider-Man goes to Aunt May, you find out that J. Jonah Jameson's wife is there, and J. Jonah Jameson is mayor at the time. He's mayor of New York. He got voted in as mayor of New York.
Of course.
Yeah.
Always put the idiots in charge.
Yeah. So JJ's wife is there talking to Aunt May because Aunt May was JJ's dad was there as well.
Yeah.
But JJ's wife was there, and Aunt May was telling her how much of a genius Spider-Man is. Peter was telling her how much of a genius her nephew is. And that's where Marla Jameson offered Peter to meet a friend of hers. So the next day, he goes to meet one of Peter Parker's idols, Max Modell.
Okay.
Max Modell is one of the smartest people in Marvel and is the founder of the think tank called Horizon Labs. And then end up getting Peter a job at Horizon Labs.
Okay.
So finally, as the title suggests, Peter Parker has now hit the big time. He finally got himself a job where he gets to do what he loves to do, other than saving people's lives. He gets to use his big brain as a job.
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
20 years later.
Yeah. So through Horizon Labs, he ends up building some different costumes, different suits. Phil Urich ends up coming back as a Hobgoblin. Yeah, so Phil Urich is the nephew of Ben Urich. If people ever watch the Daredevil Netflix show and as well as the movie, you'll recognize the name Ben Urich, the reporter.
Yes.
So Ben Urich is also very intrinsic to Spider-Man's story as well. And Phil Urich, his nephew, ends up stumbling upon an old abandoned Norman Osborn Green Goblin hideout and accidentally get himself doused in the goblin gas, but it was an experimental goblin gas. This goblin gas gave him superhuman strength, speed, but also gave him this psychotic goblin laugh that's kind of like a sonic blast. Like it fucks with your head, fucks with your senses and everything.
Just discombobulates the shit out of you.
Yeah, it just completely messes with all your senses. And he started off as a good guy, But eventually, the Goblin Green ends up going insane. So when the original Hobgoblin is trying to raid one of Norman Osborn's abandoned buildings, Phil Urich happened to be there, and Phil Urich ends up killing Ben Kingsley, the original Hobgoblin. So now Phil Urich is now the new Hobgoblin. And then Kingpin hires Hobgoblin to go steal this material that's been worked on by one of the girls that works at Horizon Labs.
Okay.
So at this time, there was an event that happened where Doctor Doom invaded Wakanda, trying to get all of the vibranium. And to defeat Doctor Doom, what Black Panther had to do is that he had to use some kind of device that rendered all vibranium across the entire world inert. So there's no more vibranium on Earth. So this girl at Horizon Lab was working on a synthetic vibranium. What she ended up creating was, it's not vibranium, it's
Rebranium.
Yeah, rebranium, yeah, or something like that, yeah. But anyway, so vibranium had the ability to absorb all kinetic energy. Rebranium has the ability to reflect all kinetic energy and even amplify it.
Oh God, it's a barrier.
Yeah.
It's a rebound barrier.
Well, it could be used as a weapon, like a sonic weapon or whatever. So Kingpin wants to steal this to sell it at the highest bidder, because obviously he could use it as some kind of weapon.
Yeah.
So he sends Hobgoblin to go steal it. Hobgoblin uses a sonic laugh that fucks with Spider-Man's head, ends up stealing and getting away with it. So then Spider-Man, with using Horizon Labs technology and using whatever research the girl had used to create Reverbium, Spider-Man created himself this new suit that you might have seen in the Spider-Man games. It's this black suit with neon green lines.
Ooh.
And this new stealth suit uses the reverbium to cancel out all sound around him and also make him almost invisible.
It's like a hollow suit.
Pretty much.
That's
Pretty
much.
much. So being almost invisible and be able to cancel out all sounds around him gave him the edge to defeat the Hobgoblin and win the day in that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
that
that
makes you sneak up on him.
Yeah. So that was big time. Also, what happened in big time, Alistair Smythe ends up showing up again. Yeah. So people who don't know who Alistair Smythe is, he was a pretty prominent villain in the 90s animated series. He was known as the Spider Slayer. His dad was actually the first Spider Slayer hired by J. Jonah Jameson to kill Spider-Man using robots. Using robots called the Spider Slayers. Spider-Man defeated him, and eventually one of their fights results in the death of the original Spider Slayer. So then Alistair Smythe ends up picking up that mantle, but blames both Spider-Man and J. Jonah Jameson for
hiring his dad.
Yeah. So he has this thing against J. Jonah Jameson and Spider-Man. So in this story, Alistair Smythe shows up again, but with other beings who have synthetic augmentations. One of those is Mac Gargan Scorpion. Alistair Smythe ends up using his synthetic robotics to renew Scorpion's abilities to give him Scorpion-like claws
and tail.
Yeah. This is after Mac Gargan was Venom. So Mac Gargan has already been Venom, lost the Venom symbiote. Venom symbiote side with Flash Thompson to be Agent Venom. So Mac Gargan is back to being a Scorpion, and then also Smith gave him the cybernetic enhancements. One of those enhancements gave Mac Gargan a Scorpion sense. So he got himself a Spider sense, just like Spider-Man. You know how dangerous that makes him?
Very.
Yeah, because one thing we didn't talk about, I don't think we talked about, we're talking about his powers, is the one key power Spider-Man has that sets him above every other character is his danger sense, is a spider sense.
Yeah.
The reason why he can go to toe-to-toe with Thor and Hulk and Fire-Lord and Silver Surfer is his spider sense, and what allows him to dodge fully automatic machine gun fire. Is his spider sense. His spider sense is his be-all, end-all. It's what makes him so unkillable.
It's pretty strong.
His spider sense isn't infallible. His spider sense can be defeated by people who are fast enough to attack him faster than his spider sense could warn him ahead of time, because his spider sense can only warn him a few seconds before the attack happens. If somebody moves at like the speed of light, well, his spider sense won't be able to warn him ahead of time, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So people that are fast enough can outspeed the spider sense. So anyways, Scorpion ends up getting his own version of spider sense. So it brings him up in the tier of dangerous villains for Spider-Man. So in the ensuing fights with Alistair Smythe, Spider-Man ended up having to, Alistair Smythe was using a bunch of different drones as well as Spider Slayers to attack Horizon Labs and attacking Spider-Man and all that. And then, so Spider-Man was severely outnumbered and needed to call in reinforcements. He calls the Avengers Mansion, and who picks up was Squirrel Girl. And so when she picks up, Spider-Man's like, anybody but you. Just give me anybody but you. I need backup, and I need now, or people are going to die. So you always have time to practice politeness. Click. So anyways, Squirrel Girl ends up getting reinforcements for Spider-Man. You see Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist and I forgot who else was there to help him out. But anyways, some members of the Avengers end up showing up to help Spider-Man out with all the Spider Slayers and Scorpion. But it wasn't enough to defeat Scorpion, because Scorpion now has his own danger sense. So Spider-Man, while the backup Avengers were helping to fight these villains, Spider-Man had to rush through Horizon Labs, concoct this new device that would annihilate Scorpion's danger sense. But the side effect of this is that it has to be triggered by somebody locally, and if it's Spider-Man, it's also going to destroy his own spider sense. So fighting ensues, and then Spider-Man ends up having to do that. He ends up having to hit a button to destroy Scorpion's spider sense and also destroy his own spider sense. So now Spider-Man loses his greatest weapon, his greatest defense tool.
Oh God! Then what happens?
Spider-Man defeats Scorpion, and then now he feels helpless because now he's vulnerable. He doesn't have a spider sense to keep him safe from bullet fire, from people looking at him as he's getting on, because that's the reason why a lot of people didn't know who his identity was. People could just follow Spider-Man to an alley where he just goes and changes into Peter Parker, but his spider sense always kept him protected from that.
Kick in and be like, look out!
Yeah, somebody's watching you. Exactly. Well, that's gone now.
Does he re-get it?
He does re-get it later on, but not before something really cool happens.
Okay, what happens?
Captain America ends up teaching Spider-Man how to use his spider powers in the form of martial arts. And then Shang-Chi ends up teaching Spider-Man how to elevate that to creating his own martial art called Way of the Spider.
What?
Where he uses his strength and his speed, his ability to stick to walls and ceilings, his webbing, all of that. Use that all, combine that into one martial art to make him more aware of his presence and make him more agile and faster and more capable in a fight. Now, there's one thing that Captain America had told Spider-Man. Spider-Man had always relied on his instinct. Well, instinct will get you killed. Especially now that he doesn't have his spider sense. So now he can't rely on instinct. He has to rely on skill. So Captain America and Shang-Chi ends up teaching Spider-Man how to fight properly, how to be a proper fighter. So now Spider-Man has his own fighting style, his own martial art, the Way of
That's
Spider.
pretty cool.
Yeah. And then he eventually gets his spider sense back, so now he can incorporate his spider sense into his Way of the Spider.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so now he's got his own spider art.
Yeah.
So you got a bit of it. But even though he lost his spider sense, he still got a bit of an upgrade because he got strategy upgrade.
Yeah, and skill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd say that's better.
Yeah.
Because then once he learns the spider sense again, it's like, holy shit, I didn't know I could do all this.
Yeah. So now all of a sudden Spider-Man is a more potent fighter now.
Because that was one of the things about him. He was never like the aggressor.
No.
He He's always the react. He was always the karate
Yes.
fighter.
Well, sort of.
Defensive, more defensive.
More a brawler and more of a taunter, really. He's kind of like, he's always been kind of like,
A knockout, just going for the one punch.
no, well, that too, but no, he's kind of like Muhammad Ali.
Dodge.
Yeah, just let your opponent wear himself out.
Yeah, let him keep swinging.
Like, when I don't know if I mentioned this in the last episode when we were talking about Spider-Man, but one big feat of Spider-Man is when he, like in his early days, he wanted to join the Avengers. And his task, so the Avengers wanted they were going to let Spider-Man join the Avengers, so they gave him a task. His task was to go find and bring in the Hulk. The Hulk had gone rampaging, had gone rogue. And they tasked Spider-Man to go find the Hulk and try to bring him in. They figured this was a losing, like there's no way he's actually going to complete this. Like it's the Hulk. So really they gave him a no-win situation.
Oh yeah, they're like, fuck it.
Yeah. So Spider-Man ends up finding the Hulk and ends up fighting the Hulk, and he ends up just like using his wit and his comedy, his banter, on top of his ability to just dodge everything the Hulk has to throw at him. Eventually, Spider-Man wore out the Hulk to the point where the Hulk reverted back to being Bruce Banner.
He wore him out so much, he changed people.
He changed the universe.
So, in that, in turn, Spider-Man became the first superhero to ever find out the Hulk's true identity.
Oh wow, that's how he did it.
Yeah.
Fight him long enough, passes out, and just banners.
Yeah. But when he finds out who he really was, Dr. Bruce Banner, he decided to not bring him into the Avengers. So Spider-Man did not end up joining the Avengers.
Oh, because he found out it was Banner.
Yeah.
Banner was like, no, you can't join us.
Yeah. No. Banner didn't want to go back to the Avengers, and Spider-Man didn't want to bring back to the Avengers.
Oh, so he was just like, well, I failed my mission.
Yeah.
I beat you, but I failed.
Yeah. Kind of like what happened with the Lizard. When Spider-Man went to Florida and fought the Lizard, and ends up finding a cure to bring the Lizard back to being Dr. Connors. But as he got to know Dr. Connors and his family and kid, that Dr. Connors is not a bad person, he couldn't bring him into the authorities, so he just kept the secret to himself.
Yeah.
Just like what he did with the Hulk, he just kept the secret to himself.
Turn him back in. Okay, enjoy.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because, like, Spider-Man feels for them.
Yeah.
Because he's in the same predicament a lot of the times as these villains and these mutants and these mutated people.
Yeah, he's misunderstanding people going after him, that Punisher going after him and whatnot.
He's
Been misunderstood before, so when somebody else is getting hunted by him and it turns out to be a big misunderstanding, well, of course he's going to understand.
Yeah. That's good. It's the compassion side of Peter that we can all relate to, right?
Yeah. That's why when he fought the Silver Surfer, he didn't fight to a finish, because when he found out the Silver Surfer was actually a good guy, because during their fight, some innocent were about to get crushed by some rebel, and Silver Surfer saved them. So when Silver Surfer saved the innocents, Peter's like, Spider-Man was like, oh,
why am I fighting this guy?
Yeah, you're a good guy. So then that fight stopped. Yeah, time out.
Same side.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about all of those events to just give you some more ideas as to what happened in Spider-Man's evolution in the 2000s, his evolution and his powers, what his powers can do, his upper limits. He's been often referenced as being more powerful than he even realizes. He's often been told that he's smarter than he even realizes.
He's the underdog. He's the one people misjudge.
Yeah, and nobody misjudges him more than himself. Like he's humble to the point where he doesn't realize his own potential.
That's good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it just shows that he's a kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
His origin, he was a kid.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
let's go through a full list of all of his powers possible. Because you started it, and then you jumped into something else.
Yeah.
So
Right. So super strength,
speed,
agility, his spider sense, his ability to climb walls, stick walls, his super intelligence. You've got his webbing, which his webbing can be used for multiple different things. You used to swing through New York. You could use it to web people. He could use it to create parachutes. He's even done some crazy things, like he even created himself a prop boat to go through a lake. 60s comics.
he also made underwear for himself one time.
Yeah.
But
thermals.
Yeah. But the one instance I remember is Doc Ock had Peter and him had switched brains bodies for a bit, and Doc Ock made the formula last longer, and Peter didn't realize that when he got back into his body, and he had no pants, so underwear, but he had to pee, and the webbing took too long to.
Then there was
Spider-Man wet himself.
Then there was this.
What is that? Spider armor?
Yeah, this is spider armor. I showed this last week. I think this is the only issue that he's ever worn, this spider armor. But that's pretty much he used his own webbing to make that armor.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a harder formula for his webbing, but he used it to create himself an armor. It's kind of like a dragon scale armor. It's different plates of hardened webbing, kind of like plates of clay. Like police uses a dragon armor, and the way the plates work is that they'll absorb the impact of like bullet shots. So when a bullet hits a plate, when it's just a solid piece of armor, the bullet hits that piece of armor and it just hits that one center. But when it's hitting plates, it'll hit the plate, and the shock will hit that plate, distribute through all the different plates that are also touching that plate. So it lessens the impact that hits the person who's wearing the dragon plate armor. So that's kind of like how this armor works, except just like actual dragon plate, the bullets will chip at the dragon scales.
Yeah.
So same thing with this. It only lasted for the one fight, but it did allow him to survive an onslaught of like 20 some odd super beings called the Enforcers, all using like various weapons and guns and like freezing guns and fire guns and semi-automatics and fully
a whole bunch of shit you just don't want to let touch you.
Yeah. So, and it did slow him down, so that's why he never did it again. But people might have seen this armor in various video games as an alternate costume you could have. Yeah, that's spider armor. That's another use of his weapon.
That's interesting.
Now, you had mentioned when Doc Ock had switched minds with Spider-Man, so I wanted to talk about that for a second. This is going to be a whole other episode. I am not going to be going into details on this, but Superior Spider-Man is when Doc Ock ends up switching brains with Peter Parker's body, and for, I don't know, like 2 years, I think Superior Spider-Man went. So for 2 years, the Spider-Man in the Marvel continuity was actually Dr. Octopus riding around in Spider-Man's body.
Doing good?
Doing good-ish. We'll go over it more when we do a full episode on Superior Spider-Man, because it's worth getting its own episode. There's a lot that happens.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, But yeah, Superior Spider-Man. It was very well received, very critically acclaimed series that everybody really seemed to really like.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's another showcase of how strong he is, though. When Dr. Octopus was in Spider-Man's body, he realized that this entire time, all these years that Spider-Man was fighting Doc Ock, he's been holding back. Because Spider-Man could have easily have killed him the first time they fought. Easily, without even breaking a sweat.
Like how Abel.
Yeah.
And then following her and just walked up and went.
Oh yeah, even beyond that. There was this one time where somebody had stolen Peter's powers, and he ends up punching this homeless person. And he didn't hold back and punched this guy's head through a brick wall. So, yeah. That's what happens when Spider-Man doesn't hold back.
Spider-Man always holds back.
Yes. Well, not always, depending on who he's fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like, against people like Dr. Octopus, who doesn't have... Dr. Octopus himself doesn't have superpowers. He's got his arms,
That's it.
but he's human. Electro, he's human. Shocker, Shocker, his power does allow him to absorb some of the impact. Who else? Mysterio, he's human. So many of his villains really would not be able to take a full string Vulture. Wouldn't be able to take a full shot as Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's literally playing with gloves on at all times.
Yeah, well, Ryan could take a shot from Spider-Man.
Yeah, he can. Venom can.
I was going to say Scorpion can, and technically he can, but there was one time where Superior Spider-Man, Doc Ock in Spider-Man's body, ends up punching Scorpion's jaw right off his face. Yeah. So that's another instance of how strong he really is when he's.
Oops.
Yeah. Yeah. Oops, indeed.
Oops.
Now going back to his webbing,
Yes.
in most of the comics, it's one that he made and has web shooters, right?
That's right.
It's like that was always something that annoyed me about
the
the
movie?
Sam Raimi movies.
Yeah.
How it was like came from him,
Yeah.
and it was like,
It bugged me. So here's why it did. It does bug me, but not so much. It didn't bug me so much because I felt like that was just a very small detail. But at the same time, it takes away from the feat that this 16-year-old boy invented these web shooters. But also, it takes away from the drama of like Spider-Man using his webbing to fight this villain. He's webbing through the city. He stops these villains. He webs to save these heroes, these civilians.
Empty.
Exactly. And then he's fighting the Vulture, and then Vulture drops him, and he tries to use his webbing to try and save himself.
Oh, no webbing.
And he's out of webbing.
I
Now,
packed the backup.
gotta think quick. What do I gotta do? What do I gotta do to save my own life? Things like that. That's why the web shooters are cool and why they are important.
They're
Why
crucial
I
to the
wasn't
real
as
stuff.
fan of the Sam Raimi movies for doing that. But at the time, I felt like that was just a small detail. Like that wasn't enough for me to bitch out.
yeah.
It's like in D&D campaigns when you're stopping every single time you want to drink and eat. All right, we get it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, yeah.
Um,
Did we cover all our topics?
well, okay, no, we also wanted to talk about his team-ups, right? So Spider-Man is, aside from that, well, maybe even more so than Fantastic Four, Spider-Man is the most teamed-up hero in Marvel. He's teamed up with everybody. He's even teamed up with his own villain. He's teamed up with Venom. He's teamed up with Dr. Octopus. He's teamed up with Sandman. He's teamed up with the X-Men, with Wolverine solo. He's teamed up with Fantastic Four numerous times with just Johnny Storm, Human Torch. He's teamed up with Ghost Rider. He's teamed up with Morbius, Living Vampire, Captain America.
Needless to say,
Deadpool.
he's got a friendly neighborhood.
Yes. There's actually a series in the 90s called Marvel Team Ups featuring Spider-Man, and it was every issue was Spider-Man team up with a different
Cool.
Marvel character.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So when you want to talk about team ups, just take the banner of Marvel and he's teamed up with everybody.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has a laundry list of friends he can always call.
That's right. But his most common team ups are Black Cat. Black Cat is him and Black Cat is Batman and Catwoman.
Okay.
So
it's a female.
yeah, Black Cat is a female. They have had a off again, on again relationship. She's more in love with Spider-Man
Than Peter.
Well, she doesn't know that he is Peter.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to know that he's Peter. She's in love with Spider-Man.
Okay.
Much like Catwoman is in love with Batman. But at least with that relationship, Bruce Wayne has dated Felicity.
Selena.
Felicity is Black Cat. Selena
okay.
is Catwoman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bruce Wayne has dated Selena as well as made out with Catwoman. Spider-Man has made out with Black Cat, but Peter Parker had never dated Felicia Hardy.
Okay.
But so yeah, Black Cat is definitely his most common team up. Silver Sable is pretty up there in his most common team ups.
Oh, yeah.
Human Torch is definitely up there, and the Thing are both up there as his most common team ups.
Yeah.
Wolverine is a common team up for him as well.
What's a notable him and Wolverine one?
Well, there was the first time that they met up. It was in they were somewhere in Canada, and it was up against Wendigo. And when Wolverine was after Wendigo and trying to save this woman, Spider-Man was trying to save this woman, and something happened where this woman was like she was ready to die or whatever. She was dying, She wanted to die. And in a fight between Wolverine and Spider-Man, Wolverine ends up tricking Spider-Man into accidentally killing this woman who wanted to die anyways. More often than not, Spider-Man has defeated... Oh, another OP feat that Spider-Man did. He's taking on the entire members of the X-Men. So during the Secret Wars, where he ended up finding this gem symbiote, he suspected the X-Men were trying to join Magneto's side. So when he showed up, he first webbed Xavier before he could do anything. Then he took out Colossus and Cyclops. And then Wolverine tried to attack Spider-Man, and Spider-Man just like shoot him off like an ant. And then eventually Xavier ended up getting free and mind blasted Spider-Man into forgetting about the entire altercation altogether. But yeah, he went and took out pretty much the entire members of the X-Men, like some of the bigger hitters like Colossus, Cyclops, Wolverine, like yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So another OP moment of Spider-Man. But yeah, to talk about that, Spider-Man has beaten Wolverine in people who say Wolverine could beat Spider-Man, technically yes, because Wolverine is deadlier. He's willing to go to higher limits, and he can't really be beaten. But there's anybody who has the ability to incapacitate Wolverine, it's Spider-Man. Yep. And honestly, if Spider-Man just wants to avoid Wolverine, what the fuck is Wolverine gonna do? Nothing.
Yeah, man, I'll just hang out on the ceiling while Wolverine, the short little Canadians yelling up at him.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah. It's like, I'm just going to stay above you, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Get you from far, web some bricks, throw them at your head.
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man doesn't have to get close to Wolverine.
Not at all. That's the beautiful thing about Spider-Man. He's an avoider, right? Yeah. Run.
Yeah.
Can't catch me.
Yeah. Doom.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that is everything we want to talk about. We want to talk about his powers. We want to talk about his noble team-ups, his more powerful feats of strength, and his most OP moments. We want to talk about a bit more about his evolution of his powers with the Other and through Big Time, where he had to learn the way of the Spider. Yeah, that pretty much wraps that up.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Worlds Collide, guys. This was part 2 of our Spider-Man, and there will be more to come.
Yes, absolutely. We'll still have to talk about the Superior Spider-Man. We still want to talk about Miles Morales Spider-Man. We also eventually going to want to talk about Spider-Man All New, All Different. But yeah. So what's next week?
Next 2 weeks, I believe we got Titans coming up.
Okay.
And then followed by Runaways.
Okay.
So we got some exciting teams and groups here for the next few weeks. Excellent. So tune in. Don't miss on the action. If you haven't seen the show, you got a week to watch. Go catch up on DC's Titans on Netflix.
It's only a few episodes long, but it's still good.
Yeah, like 8 to 10 episodes. Come on, just power it up.
Season 2 trailer's been released.
I saw that.
Yep.
I'm avoiding it. I don't want to see the trailer.
We got some shit coming.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
I'm sure.
I'll tell you that.
I'm sure.
It should be fun. So like I said, thanks for joining us. Tune in next week. This is Justin.
And Mitch.
I'm Kenny.
From Worlds Collide, and thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Cheers.